On the field, and Tom Bell wasn't, and Bell is now on, and it is on.
A little bit of push and shove. A few nerves before the start of the game. Here we go.
Caracho going to Armitage. This is a big game for both teams. Both are desperate for a win. Get their 2015 on track. From the palm down, Caracho to Everett. Tried to weave his way through a couple. Kerno caught, dispossessed, could have been ball. Murphy, Doherty, and there's a hold. So Carlton's ball, it's going to Jones.
Well, Big Levi is in the goal square and he's making a demanding lead, but not on it.
Henderson to the pocket as well. Hasn't waited all that well, and Billings takes the mark.
That ball did really hold up there too, Dwayne. That's interesting with this a new stadium for both teams.
Yeah, Windy Wellington, as they call it. Saints have played here the last 2 years, of course. This is Carlton's first ever game here. Not for all the Blues, because Andreas Everett played here for the Swans a couple of years ago. But it is a different venue, and it's Windy Wellington, of course.
Just another match-up too, Dwayne. Jamison, experienced Carlton defender, picking up the second game of Paddy McCartan.
Wood with a flick down. Doherty with the pass straight through Everett's hands. Maybe handle was a little too slick. Gibbs slip, so it's an indicator as well. Surface is beautiful, but it is lush. Billings on the run. McCartan leads short. Just overcooked the pass, maybe led too early. One of the two, Jamison, who did take his place, obviously, in the lineup. So Jax isn't playing this afternoon. It's a slippery ball going on that. Dempster got a little trip from Jones, who was disappointed to let that slip through his hands. Savage heads to the square. Bruce flicked away. Membry flicks it out through. Hard to see Jack Stevens normally flipping those straight through his hands, and ugly. Schneider across the face misses. It's been a horrible start skill-wise.
Well, the left footers have let them down, with the exception of young Jack Loney. He delivered it well from the back half, but that one from Billings and then again from Schneider. Two kicks that just should have resulted in goals.
Buckley back in for his first game of 2015, so good to see Dylan Buckley back into the lineup. Bell short to Ellard.
Did like the way the Saints were attacking though, Sando. Some pretty good body language early in the piece.
Some fantastic overlap run and coming through the corridor early, which is good.
Casbolt.
He's a beauty, this kid.
Straight away to Bell, and they've got the spare man in a square. Wobbly kick, it might bounce to Wood, little flick to Jones. Henderson made it his. Longer just got there in time. And here's McCartan, has come up the half-back. Couldn't quite get on the end of that one either.
Mistake then. Carlton had 3v1 inside 50 and couldn't take advantage of it.
That's the voice of Brenton Sanderson, former Adelaide coach, National Academy head coach, joining Gerard Healy and Barry Hall with us this afternoon. You saw Alan Richardson on screen, coach of the Saints. He played in the first ever Collingwood Essendon Anzac Day clash, so he'll be enjoying being involved again today. Loney attacks it. Stephen tried to hack it forward.
Just with stoppages here, Dwayne, Carlton so far are setting up with 6 forwards ahead of the ball, which without Judd, they haven't opted to put a forward and extra number into those stoppages yet.
Both teams without a couple of their guns. No Rewalt, no Montagna for the Saints. No Judd, no Yarran. And Cruiser, you could actually add to the list for both teams, but we'll leave it at that. Not at full strength either of them. Doherty. Cripps held up in the middle of all that. Cripps again. Simpson dumped. Longer, still scrappy. Doherty.
Just conversely, Dwayne, St Kilda are sending two of their half forwards really high. So Schneider's one of them. It's actually allowing Bruce and McCartan to have a bit of space inside forward 50.
Getting Simpson out of the way as well, and he's one of the good distributors for the Blues.
It's not the longest ground in the AFL by any stretch of the imagination, but it is wide. It's almost circular as Simpson kicks to half forward. Henderson was in the right spot. Here's Boakhurst. Their #1 pick in last year's draft on debut. Kicks inside 50. Delaney gets it to the boundary. Kept it alive, strangely enough. Geary, Dempster, Robertson, it works for them.
Well, I really like it when defenders who've got an out number keep the ball alive. I'm not sure why this mantra, take it across the line, and then we'll set up with a throw-in. Often that throw-in is won by the attacking side and you get goals against. You're giving away your advantage.
Now, the new attacking mindset of a few of the best teams in the competition maybe will change everybody's thinking as Cripps is wrapped up by Robertson. And Bell and Dunstan have a word. You can see by the spare seats, it's not a full house by any stretch of the imagination. AFL were hoping for 15 to 20,000 here in Wellington this afternoon. Murphy caught a little high and without it.
Man on the man, Mark Nunes is running with him.
Casbolt in a 1-on-3. Henderson stayed down. Might have the shot. Centering kick. Jones is on his own.
Good kick.
Had to wait a while, but it got there nicely.
Yeah, they're swapping it around a little bit. Nunes was with Gibbs, and then he went to Murphy. Curno's running with Stevens. We mentioned that Simpson's got Snyder. Snyder went up to the boundary throw-ins to take him away from defence, but all that did was take him up to the stoppage and he got his hands on the ball. But this is smart play. Good structure. Just separating the tools a little bit, and he gets an opportunity to get him away.
Just the one goal last week. Struck that okay. No. Across the face.
That's one thing that lets him down, Liam Jones, is kicking for goal. Well, you've got to take those opportunities. He's in and out the side. He's got a hell of a lot of talent. He's just got to finish those ones.
So Kilda huddled there from that kick in. Found Longer out in space. That's Robertson.
Yeah. So he was lurking, but couldn't quite get there to make something better of it. Here comes Armitage back on.
He's got the big tag. Carazzo's going to make his life pretty difficult this afternoon.
Cripps. Curnow. Delaney takes it out. That was the only option for him there.
Scrappy start. No real clear possessions yet for either side.
Well, Wellington Phoenix play here, and right now the scoreboard reflects a good game of the round ball code.
They score more here, in fact. Back into play. Billings caught. Armitage caught.
Just so many numbers around the football. Perhaps aids Carlton at this stage, I think. Just trying to flick the ball outside if they can.
And who will that aid? It's aiding Carlton, so Wood will have the shot.
Well, coming in, this was a pivotal battle. Wood versus Longer. Longer was extremely effective against the Gold Coast and was significant in their victory up there, even though Isaac Smith also had his fair share. But he's a player that can release their young midfield and some of their older ones with deft tap work. So important that Wood neutralises that and goes forward and tries to get a couple of goals.
A wildly fluctuating career. Brisbane and Collingwood under Mick. Went and played back in the VFL for Williamstown for a year, now on the rookie list, and kicks a mongrel just to keep the unpredictability of his career on track.
Well, I was right behind that kick, and look, it's very swirly wind down here. It actually gets inside and circulates, so it's not going one way or the other. It's pretty swirly at the moment.
Armitage got there, and that indicates as well that the chest mark option for Armitage is maybe a bit breezy and a little slippery. Curran got there, good grab in the hands that time.
Interesting to see just how well Shane Savage goes. One of the features, traits of Mick Malthouse's coaching has always been to lock down on attacking defenders.
Yep.
And Armfield's being given that role. Savage, we saw running off the half-back line so many times over the last couple of weeks and getting involved.
He's a New Zealander as well.
Yep.
Shane Savage, born here in New Zealand.
He's got the home ground advantage.
Yes. Simpson. Bangs it to the outer side. Curnow, not normally a go-to man.
No
Used his elbows, not his hands, according to the umpire.
Elbows or hands if you push out.
Yeah, push is a push.
Pretty lucky there, or unlucky, whichever way you want to see it.
Yeah, that's not hands in the back necessarily, is it?
Oh, it is in my view.
Yeah, that's definitely a free kick.
The push in the back, though, not hands in the back. Yeah.
We could be on track here for a world record stoppage count, I think, in this first quarter.
Casbolt doing some ruck work from behind, got it down, almost got his own ball. Bruce, Geary, Murphy, Everett, got his hands free, but to his detriment. Stephen gets a chance. Outside of the boot, bends it back and kicks a ripper to brighten this game up immensely.
Well, that was, I think, given that we're in a foreign land, we'll call them boomerangs. I know it might offend a few in South Australia, but let's call these boomerangs, easier to sell. But this was an exceptional kick and good creativity. In another area, he would have been coached to go onto his left, but not so. Good work from Geary, the skipper, getting away from Allard. And then an errant handball just lines up the Saints, and he bangs it home.
Unconventional. I would say low percentage. I think from a coaching point of view, I'd rather my player run onto his left there, but they're obviously practicing these days, the boys.
I mean Kerno, not Allard, but anyway, it was a good shot at goal by Jack Stevens.
Umpire will recall that one. The umpires today, Chris Donlan, Andrew Stevens, Ben Ryan. This is Ben Ryan. The toss in the air. Casbolt stays in the ruck. Kerno going nowhere.
And David Armitage is not getting 1 inch.
No, he's getting a heavy tag, and Murphy has been on that far wing the whole game so far.
There he is. Gibbs caught, bang. Got it back again in the tackle, strangely enough. He lost it and got it back again. Membry long kick. Loney
Can play.
kept it alive. Schneider goes back. Bruce. Smother was brilliant, although ricochet straight to Sinclair, and he slots it.
Like this kid.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sando. I've watched him now a few times in a row, and he's got really good skills. I'm not sure whether he's going to make it through to the midfield. I suspect he will, but ball in hand, he's a beauty. He works hard too. He's prone to do lots of tackling, but this is just instinctive. Gets 2 kicks, 2 steps, I should say, and bangs it through. So a good start here by the Saints. Blues have taken it forward a number of times for shots that should have gone through, so they're their own worst enemy. But as we saw last night, getting the ball inside 50 and actually kicking a winning score can be 2 vastly different things.
Wood back into the ruck, but they lose the clearance. Noon's got the half forward. They're looking good now, the Saints. Bruce straight through Geary's hands, though.
As we talked about pre-game, Jared, after those 2 goals, St Kilda have thrown a 7th defender behind the ball. One thing that's been hurting Carlton in the first 3 rounds this season.
Yes, they've had games in their control a quarter time, and against the West Coast, and again last week against the Bombers when Goddard went behind the ball, they just struggled to get their forward ball movement effective enough to bypass that extra defender. So that's their challenge. Get enough good midfield ball and create enough space in their forward line to hit some targets.
Longer front spot. Wood crashes it to the wing. Boakhurst. Armfield. Just out of Henderson's reach. Delaney right with him with the boundary line there, and Henderson flicked it back. Fisher was aware of what was going on, read his mind really, and bangs it towards Stephen on the wing.
Fantastic by Fisher. Really worked hard to get back to that number at that last contest for St Kilda.
And you're right, Jared, you spoke about it earlier. He's the oldest player on their list now, Sam Fisher, and could have gone home a few times, had offers to go back to South Australia, stuck around, and he's going to stay in Victoria when his career is over. He's made a home here and loves the club. And that love of the club can turn a few that thought about going home early in their careers into those that stay long. McCartan.
Well, that was a much better kick.
Sits it up to the pocket to Bruce. Rose right there. Rose ball. Walker. Ellard. Created the loose man. Cripps. Simpson. Everett, he shepherds after the 1-2.
Out the back,
Henderson's long. It's in a good spot, and he's got it. Not long enough. Yeah, had an arm slap either way. It was his ball.
Well, that was better forward movement by the Blues. Got it in quickly, got it to a one-on-one, and Henderson hasn't let them down.
That's where they've looked dangerous. If they can break that first line of St Kilda's defence, a few times Carlton have outnumbered them actually ahead of the ball. So quick ball movement, break the first line of defence. You might be able to expose these St Kildas if you can move the ball quickly.
No need to tell you, Blues fans at home. 10 minutes left in the term. Carlton need this. And he delivers.
And he gets an opportunity to go and have a rest. It's 150 metres to the boundary line, but he'll be tired when he gets there. But Simpson coming off that half-back line, so often he is the architect of what results in goals or score attempts, and no different on this occasion. Good kick, really good kick.
Interestingly, only 9 marks for St Kilda, only 7 marks for the Saints, 9 for Carlton. Just shows how scrappy this game has been at the start.
Yeah, so many stoppages. Hasn't been free-flowing at all.
In the right contest. Murphy gets the clearance. Buckhurst started well. To half-forward Jones, just tunneled a little on that, and the umpire didn't like it. Arnfield took advantage and kicked it out on the full. He's claiming Arnfield that he didn't know the free was being paid until too late.
Well, it was pretty instinctive, wasn't it?
Membry the target for this kick. Long. Wood got in front of him, and Longer will take it to the line.
Well, there's the tunnel or the push head. Doesn't have to be your arms, it can be your chest, as we saw on that occasion.
Murphy getting a bit off it. Raked free by Dunstan. And Stephen really hacked it towards the line with no real intention of following it up. Dunstan and Gibbs went much up. Jared and Brenton Sanderson spoke about earlier. Everett, third man up. Robertson. Dempster put it to grass and right in there as well. Right half scramble to kick. Longer. Bruce stands under it. McCartan got a hand to it. Rowe. Almost done. Jamison. Trouble. Loney bumped off it low by Jamison. Got back, mopped up that little mess. Curnow. Gibbs.
Just going back to that last stoppage on centre wing, at the third man up situation, Everett went up and hit it wide to 3 St Kilda players.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's got to be thought through better than that, surely.
It should be.
Sorry, Sando.
It obviously is a set play. Hasn't worked initially for Carlton.
Cripps hands it off quickly. Bryce Gibbs to Boakhurst, who got a possession seconds ago and fed forward very quickly.
Better running from the Blues right now into attack.
And Everett can kick a goal from a difficult angle. He knows where they are.
That's good transition from the Blues. Maintenance of possession is what it's all about, giving them a good chance to go forward. The Saints, I think, Alan Rich should be a bit disappointed that he hasn't had some midfielders or half-forwards, half-backs folding back to fill up that space.
And it's played here before, the first ever Anzac Day game here. And he just weaves that in.
That hit the post, I think.
It looked like the wind catching it.
It moved through the air, so I'm not sure whether it was a wind or the post, but definitely did a bit in the air.
I think it brushed the post.
Well, there's that run once again. And you can just see going over the heads of midfielders who are just trailing along and haven't done the hard yards early. There's no point sprinting when it's too late. You've got to sprint early to make sure your man doesn't become that target. Let's have a look. Yeah, you're right, Sandra. That's hit the post, and it's going to go back. So the ball was back in the centre, but because every goal is reviewed, whether or not the umpire calls for it or not, then you're going to see the flags crossed, which means they will eradicate that score, deduct 6 and add 1.
I need your explanation on the big screens here so the locals can understand that. Savage long to right. Geary runs hard, didn't give it to him. Puts it out in front of Bruce and goes to Geary in the end anyway. Rewarded the hard run.
So the corridor pretty well blocked up. This is going to go to a contest.
McCartan might fly here, just bumped off at last second, Henderson.
Well, that's good running from Henderson, but the Saints have got to do better than that. Somebody has to crunch that pack.
Fantastic ball movement initially, but you're right, Jared. Someone's got to come in and make that a contest.
Tui. Doherty.
Well, that is deliberate.
Well, I think he thought Cripps was going to move that way.
Well, that's as good enough excuse as I can come up with, Wayne, and he's got away with it.
And Cripps wasn't on the same page.
Murphy now pushing forward. Geary goes with him.
Cripps gets it anyway. Walker, delayed handball picked off by Schneider to Dunstan. Time to size them up. Works it back. Fantastic goal.
Well, we talk about stoppage goals. This one was interesting. Longer gets the tap, hits it straight to a Carlton player, and then a really good pressure intercept here by Schneider. That's excellent work and a good give.
I don't like the handballs out the back from stoppage, particularly that close to forward 50. It does create the opportunities for turnover. And Schneider there, 200-game player, he sniffed that out. Dunstan, the young recruit from South Australia, bangs home a beautiful left-foot goal.
It's been a good pick-up for them, Luke Dunstan, and Mick would be filthy on that. That's just basic stuff, and you can see he's fairly demonstrative in the box about it.
Well, and Richmond be pretty happy with the effort. The tackle count at the moment is 18 to 11. They're winning that, but they've more importantly scored 2 goals from turnovers, from tackling. So really good start from the Saints.
Big torpedo, but well read and good rebound.
Did Geary drop back almost before that hit his boot? It's almost as if he read that the drop was for a torpedo. Dunstan lifted their rate again here, the Saints. Memories forward. Knocked to the ground. Armitage. He's got Bruce inside. Put it in the book.
Much better by the Saints. That time they got the ball inside 50 a lot quicker. They had the one-on-ones deep, top of the goal square. Took advantage of the front and square goal.
Yeah, good couple of minutes here by the Saints, and Mick's gone to the boundary line. Trying to summon the troops to get a better effort before this quarter hits its end mark, but good roving there by Armitage. Excellent give. And they just do look as if they're moving the ball a little bit as a general rule here, Sando, the Saints.
Yeah, that's right. They are moving it quick, and when they do look dangerous deep. So Carlton are getting back, but that one was much deeper. That was almost the top of the goal square, which sides make it much harder to defend.
It's amazing how quickly it can change. Everett has a shot to level the scores.
Yeah,
that's right.
Initially thought it was a goal, it was overturned, and then the Saints get 2 quick ones, and Mick on the boundary line immediately.
Still 6 minutes to go. That's early for the coach to go down.
Yeah. He's been inspired today, Mick. You can see him with a poppy on. He went to the dawn service here in Wellington this morning with a few of the Carlton hierarchy and Chris Yarran, who accompanied them to that dawn service. But none of the players went that are playing this afternoon. Right.
He's been good, this kid. He's an improver. He's worked hard to get his way into the side.
Oh, 4 players up then for Carlton. They're lucky to win this one. Cardinal sin, Jared.
Too many.
4 players flying in the air, none at ground level. Look at that.
You'd only have to go through, and Paddy McCartan was all over it.
Close to the boundary. Cripps got up. He's got a kick away. Robertson hunts it down. Got a good shepherd from Fisher. Dunstan. Outlet handball, and now they peel. Savage.
Much more efficient at the moment, the Saints. They're 15 possessions down, and yet they are moving the ball with far greater precision.
Kicking efficiency 10% better than Carlton at the moment.
McCartan, almost a second grab. Still got a handball out. Murphy shrugged one, and he was dispossessed with the second, but the tackle didn't stick. Tui to Bell. Bang! Oh, Stephen put his body on the line. That was brilliant. Bell kept coming at him. Oh, good bump to the no, poor bump. Thought it was to the side. Umpire said it was to the back.
What concerns me at the moment, Dwayne and Jared, Carlton's good players are actually getting the ball still. So Murphy's had 10, Simpson's had 6, Gibbs has had 4. So where's this improvement going to come from for Carlton?
Well, there's the bump, and there's the one that gave the free kick away. Looked like a side bump to me as well, Dwayne. But
yep, and you're allowed to do that.
Yep.
He was in the process of taking the ball. Loney.
Didn't quite square it. Really important 4 minutes here. The Saints are up and about. Carlton have got to somehow penetrate this zone defence. And it's pretty much a full press here.
Tui drives it to Cripps. And Jones stole it from him. Wasn't paid the mark. Cripps had the first grab. Manufactured a kick. Geary. Stephen waltzes his way through some traffic. Didn't strike it as well as he'd like.
Jeez, they've had some chances as well, the Saints, at the right of screen end.
12 inside 50s for 7 shots for goal.
Mick Malthouse, who equals Jock McHale today, 714 games coach, who break that record next week. Tui. Jones, Longer, Wood.
Paddy McCartney's going to have to do better than that. Tui just walked around him. He covered the inside and he went to the boundary.
And boys, Andrew Carrazzo, he's limped off. As you can see their left ankle, it looks like, so I'll keep an eye on that.
So Mick Malthouse just to his left. Not concerned about the injury right now, concerned about the scoreboard. Ellard. Fisher read it well.
And that's the midfield ball I'm talking about. If you just hack the ball from the midfield forward, you are basically putting St Kilda into attack. They've got extra men down there and you'll end up just running straight into defence.
No 50 Billings.
Your players lined up to cross the ball if they need it.
Casbolt back deep as an extra.
McCartney's there, Membry's there. McCartney went up early and at the back, sweating off Curran. Open goal, unselfish, Shetton.
Well, that's just a great goal, but once again, it was exactly what you talked about 10 minutes ago. 4 players up for Carlton. This time the ball went through Sando, and then it was good execution by the Saints. Have a look, guys. Everyone up from Carlton, no one guarding the back.
No.
And it was just open slather. I mean, it all starts with that midfield hack kick.
Yep.
That's where that goal started from. Another mistake here by the defenders, all going up. Tui getting sucked to the contest, and no one covering the back.
Disappointing there for the Blues. Pressure kick from stoppage results in a goal back the other way.
This is excitement for the Saints. This is how they played a couple of weeks ago against the Gold Coast. Everyone working hard for each other, winning some stoppages. Longer, he's not on top. It's a good battle in the middle, but he's getting his 50%.
And scoring without Nick Rivold as well, and without Montagna.
This will go straight to Fisher, who's the extra number behind the ball.
Shetton's been pushed back with Fisher, so they're both waiting for it. Savage, Delaney, there's Shetton. So kicks the goal, goes back. Left was a little wobbly. Tui.
It's a pretty average kick, that one. Well read by Tui. He's just got to find a goal here, the Blues, before the siren goes.
Bell. Casbolt. What about that for a pair of hands? Wasn't really his ball. And he made it his. He burst through 2 or 3. And this is a massive kick, both for his confidence and for the Blues' momentum, with quarter time not far away.
Well, marking's not his problem, Dwayne. It's this next part. But that was fantastic. Really strong contested mark against 2 St Kilda opponents. The ball did drop short, but he was the first one to read it.
Failed to kick a goal last week. Now working with Safrocker on his goal kicking. And that's what he has ahead of him. And that's a result that Sav and Levi and Mick would not be after.
Good player, Levi Casbolt. He's a good player. I reckon he could be a great player if he really wanted to. He needs to grab a game by the scruff of the neck. I think at the moment, going through the motions a little bit, as you said, Sando, he's kicking. If he can finish off a little bit better, you know, it'll help him quite a bit. But I reckon he just needs to grab a game by the scruff of the neck at some stage.
Definitely.
It'd hurt if they go down the other end, the Saints, and get a goal here. Oh, that's a good tackle on Billings, not rewarded.
Should have given the first handball, Billings, just like McCartan did 1 second ago.
Murphy the steal back. Henderson short. Jones is longer. Hands it up to Everett instead. Hunted down by Dunstan. Everett caught. Back to Murphy. Caught. And they get out of it. Dunstan. Geary. St Kilda's ball advantage here.
And the overlap.
Armitage. And it opens up for Nunes.
Bruce running hard.
McCartan short. Bruce still in the pocket. Splendid pass, or a little too wide, and maybe just could have weighted it a little better out of play.
Great defence by Sam Rowe too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had to do the same running that Bruce did, and he did about an 80-metre, 90-metre sprint, did big U-turn to get up onto the skinny side of the ground, and he got his fist in.
Just need to take these seconds off the clock, the Blues. No more damage. And they should do. Feast of football on Fox Footy today. Great to have your company wherever you're watching around the land. Collingwood and Essendon from the MCG after this, of course. Port Adelaide and Hawthorn at the Adelaide Oval, and then finished off tonight. Fremantle and Sydney from Domain Stadium in Perth. Fantastic day. Settle in. And the Saints on top here, heading to quarter time in Wellington.
Well, I'm not sure about that kick, what it was intended to do. If it's intended to go over the line, it's a good kick. But other than that, it was just a kick and hope.
It was a waste. Wide and slow.
And the flick down. Soren should beat them here. Quarter time. Saints are yet to win an Anzac Day game here in Wellington. They've lost their previous two. The sun's shining. And it's perfect conditions right now at the Cake Tin for the Saints to continue on after quarter time. The Blues need to hit back in a hurry. Saints by 25.
They're striking at the ball pretty strongly, getting first possession, and our tackle pressure is able to turn it over, but we need to win the ball rather than win it back. So.
Good luck in the second quarter.
Had their chances a few times, the Blues. In fact, could have drawn scores level at one stage halfway through that opening term. The Saints got away. Second term underway. Geary, not the clearance, right. LR gets there before him, spins. Walker pokes the pass inside 50, hoping for Gibbs. Jones got there, gave it to Everett. Hamble smothered. Ellard back in, gang tackled it, dragged down.
Well, at that centre bounce, they pushed everybody up the ground and gave Jones essentially the forward 50 to himself. Almost got it into that space, but it wasn't delivered with any sort of advantage.
Cripps. Billings, Geary.
It's a horrendous
Ugly.
kick.
Jones. Now, can he complete the deal?
Interesting handball from Cripps. Right hand hoik over the right shoulder rather than using the left hand as the National Academy head coach. What are you teaching as far as a philosophy? Left hand or right hand in that circumstance?
That should have been a left hand out of that stoppage. He actually has started pretty well, Cripps. He's had the 8 disposals, but 7 of them have been handballs. He's actually winning some clearances in tight, which is good for Carlton.
Brenton Sanderson, former Adelaide coach, with us now, the National Academy head coach, as Gerard said. And all eyes on Liam Jones to start this second term off.
Great kick.
Perfectly.
Well, that's what Mick Malthouse would have been wanting. Just a response. They've won a centre clearance, and that's an issue that St Kilda need to address. There's that right-hand hoik, basically straight to St Kilda, and this is why kicking is such a fundamental of the game. That should have been down the throat of a St Kilda player, and yet it's immediately cost them momentum and 6 points.
Back to the centre bounce too. This is where Carlton actually are on top. They are winning it first out of these centre bounce clearances.
Yeah, the numbers are well against, and it's not just a ruck issue. It's there's 4 players in there. They need to address it because it's just completely one-sided.
Wood smashed it down, bounced off Cripps's forehead. LR, good attack and good tackle. Gibbs to Walker.
That's a free kick.
And Jones almost got his hands on it. Henderson runs in open goal. Play on advantage. It'll count. 2 minutes gone, 2 goals kicked.
2 centre clearances, Dwayne. That's where it starts. As Jared said, it's 4v4. Wood's getting on top there with those centre bounce hit outs. But yeah, Carlton first to jump on the loose one.
Well, he was manhandled before that contest, and here's Henderson running hard, just a little bit too quick for his direct opponent.
He did turn Delaney around there. Delaney couldn't get goal side quick enough, which is poor.
But once again, that is one of those defensive handballs that you talked about. The Blues went inboard with one of their clearances and got a goal. That was a blind handball defensively from St Kilda, who initially won the ball, and it went straight to a Carlton half forward running hard.
Blues on their way back. Loney, good attack. Push in the back, Curno's ball.
It's a great response by the Blues.
Quick kick to Wood. And he bangs it to the hot spot. Jones is down there. He's got 2 to beat.
Good play by Geary. Read that play early in the air, got back and outnumbered. Jones was one-on-one with his opponent, but Geary was first back to help outnumber.
And they make it 3 in 3 minutes, the Blues. Wood and Longer to do the ruck work. Longer jumps in front, short throw in. Didn't really get a kick away. Armitage, Billings.
Much
Simpson.
better pressure from Carlton. All
Oh,
of a
he
sudden,
held it? No.
it's turned completely, hasn't it? The pressure from Carlton is making the kicks from St Kilda look poor.
Loney, little handball to his own advantage and almost kept going. Crowd wanted a nudge.
Well, there's another push in the back that just hasn't been paid. I'm not sure why they're giving so much leniency.
Doherty, Everett.
Carlton are out here, 3v2 on the wing.
Armfield. Buckley.
That's going to hurt the Saints fans. There was a push in the back.
He's coming back. Everett to take it.
Some real concerns down here for Andrew Carrazzo. It looks to be his left knee. He taped it up. He come out a quarter time. He's back down in the race now. Not looking good for him.
And they have a debutant, Matthew Dick, as their sub as well. The Blues, for the record, Ahmed Saad, the sub for the Saints. So they don't have experience to bring on like Carrazzo. Casbold got his own crumb. Boakhurst. Jones manhandled to the deck.
Well, we're only a few minutes in, but it's 28 possessions Carlton to 8, and every other stat is lopsided towards the Blues.
St Kilda without an efficient disposal this quarter. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Gibbs almost stolen by Dunstan. Crowd getting involved. It's a few that have come in late, hoping for somewhere near 20,000 the AFL today. More likely going to be around about the 15,000 mark. Right. Kept it in front. Good flick back. Didn't quite work for Murphy.
It's an amazing game at the moment. The ball not far away from Carlton's goals, and there was 4 Carlton forwards alone and 4 Carlton St Kilda defenders essentially out wide looking for the release handball.
Yep.
So there's a fair bit of Russian roulette going on at the present time.
Robertson made it his. 2 Blues players were looking at each other. Toohey, good attack and good shepherd from Simpson. Got Loney out of the contest and gets back up to get himself, well, he stole it and then stole it back again. Membry and Stephen. Do the Saints get this to work for them? Short pass. Bruce couldn't trap it. Rowe does. Caught by the arm. Just got it off to Doherty. Tui. Push off. And he's off. And Boakhurst could go all the way here. First game. This could be his first goal. Unselfish. Pokes it in front of Henderson and he slams it through.
Good play by Boakhurst too. I've actually been tracking him this first quarter a little bit. He's actually getting out behind the St Kilda defenders. We know he was Carlton's first pick last year. Smart player. He actually knows the AFL patterns here. You can see him in from his behind the goals view. He gets out back behind the St Kilda highest defenders, which is fantastic play.
And his man trailing 25 metres behind. Great response by the Blues. Rich Obi absolutely filthy. That ball going into the forward half was another kick in hope rather than being systematic.
I think Mick was realising that at one stage the Saints looked like scoring one against the flow, if not for the turnover. And now the Blues, just a kick away in essence. Armitage, McCartan, and he could line up for his first ever.
Interesting taking that ball on the chest rather than out in front on the hands, but some of the greatest centre-half forwards of all time were pretty well prone to doing that, and Brown and Carey.
Needed to make sure of it, and can he make sure of this kick? The #1 draft pick. #1 new recruit to the game, and he doesn't strike that at all well.
All the scoring's been to the right of screen. Is it a wind issue at all?
No, it's not. As I said earlier, it's very swirly. It actually gets inside the stadium off the sea breeze and just swirls inside this stadium, and it's very hard to predict. But yeah, it changes from 1 minute to the other.
Barry Hall, who's been here for the last couple of Anzac Day games in Wellington, and it's right on the seaside here, the Cake Tin. It's a windy city, but this is a windy spot. Billings. Beautiful part of the world though here, on the edge of the bay. It's like a mini Sydney in some respects. Picturesque. If you imagine Sydney if the SCG was where the Opera House is, that's essentially what it's like.
Beautiful part of the world, Dwayne.
And let's hope they can win more football fans here in Wellington. It's a bit hard when the AFL's not live on the TVs here in Wellington for people to get attached to the game. Walker, Doherty, good bump on the kick. Armfield, space forward. Fisher, Henderson. Fisher goes back. Knew he had a couple of options back there to help out. Geary. Schneider. Armitage. Longer. Got under that a little. Doherty got front spot. Did well. Bell.
Not sure. Yeah.
Blues on the rebound. Everett. He can go. Walker. Hard ball to gather on his shoelaces. Good tackle. Everett. Ellard jumped in. Didn't necessarily need to go to the ground. He might be in trouble. Nope.
McCartan just came off there, Dwayne, and they've put a small on. Jamison couldn't get off, so we've got a mismatch here. Jamison playing on a small. They're just trying to rearrange it now.
From the palm down, see if they can get it forward. Longer does. Membry just out of his reach initially, and Bro waited for him. Billings. No one's in the square. Just needs to hit it well.
Oh, class.
Absolutely magnificent.
So I'll talk you through this, Dwayne. What actually happened, McCartan's come off. Jamison doesn't go off with him, and they bring on a small. So while the Carlton defenders were trying to rearrange themselves, they just got beaten at ground level, and we can see here, hopefully in a minute, that St Kilda's smalls just got outside the Carlton defenders.
It was well won by Membry, who just hoiked it forward, got an official handball, and then another one from Bruce over the top. And there's a 3-on-2 that you're talking about. It was Billings who got away.
McCartan straight back on too.
Good news for the Blues. Carezzo's back on, so that's really good news for them.
And the restart. Seesawing second term at the moment. Momentum back with the Saints. He just joined us. Saints led by 25 at quarter time. Kicked the first couple of goals of the game. Doherty. Just got the kick over the head of Schneider.
Oh, well done, Geary.
Yeah, tackled and got it back again now. Centering kick, superb to Schneider.
Fantastic poise.
Yeah, it was a good individual effort, wasn't it? He was down 2 players, and yet he's still in a 3-on-1 situation. He effected a turnover.
But even then, just the ability just to lower his vision, have the poise. He's the skipper of the side today. He was able to hit up Schneider just inside 50, where we've seen today most players under that pressure just jack the ball forward.
Just on the paint. And to the near side. Almost stays in play. It does stay in play. It's a good contest. And Carazzo's back on, which is good news for the Blues. Henderson coming hard, crunches that across the boundary for the ball in.
He looks in really good nick at the moment, Henderson. He's running really well. He's aggressive. He's kicking the ball well. He's the danger.
And he's out of contract at the end of the year. Been a bit talked about that. And he might well get the Blues if they are rebuilding. Depends on who you ask at Carlton at the moment. If you ask the coaching staff, they're certainly not. But he could well get a late first-round pick or an early second-round pick in the form he's in. Saints a good chance here again inside 50. Curnow cuts it off back to Simpson. Tui. Sits it on Casbolt. Good attack, Longer.
And there is the game, I reckon. Whichever side can get the ball out of defence the most efficiently is going to win this game. And St Kilda were really good at it in the first quarter, but up until this point in time in the second, they've been less than efficient.
And getting back, good hands, Casbolt.
I like this guy in the ruck. I think we understand he's got an efficiency in the kicking, but his great strength is marking. Why not utilise it all around the ground?
I agree, Jared.
Oh, turnover. Sinclair, we know he's a sharpshooter. Takes full toll. Quarter-time huddle. Here's what Alan Richardson had to say to his Saints.
Fantastic stuff. You've got to be long for if we've got nothing to kick to. But you are finding the holes inside here. Maintain and the fast play. That balance has been terrific.
Alan Richardson talking about Tim Membry. Second season as coach up against a coach in his 31st season as coach. Alan Richardson versus Mick Malthouse this afternoon.
Well, back-to-back goals there by the Saints has given them a little bit more breathing space after Carlton hit them with everything. And they're starting to get their act together a little bit through the centre.
Carazzo finds some space. Gibbs
Good
caught
tackle.
from behind.
No talk.
Savage, Membry, Stephen. Had a short option and it's lace out to Shenton.
Once again, that centre clearance. It took 2 or 3 goes there for either side to actually execute, but it was St Kilda on the back of a really savage tackle. It's a good play, that kid Sinclair. Gives Shenton an opportunity.
Your point's spot on, Jared. It's the side that's pressuring the contest harder is the side that's gathering the momentum in this game. Carlton, first half of this quarter, fantastic. St Kilda getting back on top with that.
So the Blues kicked the first 3 goals of this term, but with that kick, the Saints have their biggest lead of the game, 26 points.
It's pressure. It's pressure around the ball. Whoever can get on top around the contest. We'll see here. Gibbs, no talk from his Carlton teammates. Get that ball forward, but it's the tackle pressure from St Kilda. Creates turnovers. Opposition's defence not set. And we can see here Stephen just lowers his vision. Beautiful, beautiful kick inside 50.
I think that'll go on the highlights tape. No, not that goal, but Jack Sinclair's tackle.
Been a long road for Cameron Shenton. 3 seasons on the rookie list, upgraded to the senior list after doing the hard yards.
And a good fight back by him, Dwayne. I thought he was going to struggle for his spot this week. He was pretty ordinary last week against the Pies, and yet he's come on just a few possessions, but kicking a couple of goals.
Yeah, no Nick Riewoldt this afternoon for the Saints, and no Lee Montagna.
We spoke about making a contest in the St Kilda forward line. He will certainly give you that.
So they get the clearance, the Blues. Carazzo sets it up. Henderson's coming hard and even harder. Dempster. Schneider. Geary.
He's been a great player for a long time, as Dempster.
Yep, premiership player in his own right with the Swans, of course. Geary. Missed Armitage, you might get it anyway, although that looks a little high as he jumps on it. Got away with that.
I'm not sure about that kick. It's not going to travel the 15 metres.
No.
So I think it's just a really bad decision. You're better off going down the line to a contest rather than to hit up a bloke who's 12 metres away.
Clearances this quarter back in St Kilda's favour.
And Mark Murphy, they've locked down on him big time. He had 11 in the first. Nunes has done a great job, just 2 for this term. And you can see Nunes just giving it to him there.
Bell got his arms free to Gibbs. Just left it behind and to go back and get it. Tui. Henderson the short, and it's way out of anybody's reach.
Well, the reason he went wide there, Zach Tui, is because Dempster was sitting back as a +1 for St Kilda. Jared spoke about it pre-game. As soon as the opposition have numbers back, Carlton have got no idea where to actually kick the footy.
Good pluck in the end, and off he goes, Tui. So he gets a chance to do it all again. Centering kick this time. Jones has the fly. Did it get touched? Everett, did he even touch it? It's there.
Well done, Zach Tui. Love the way Zach Tui plays. He probably missed an infield in-corridor opportunity, but there were one-on-ones in defence, and he was just going to get the ball in deep. You can just see it unfolding here now. So it's a 2-on-1, in fact, because one of the Blues goes to ground. Might have been the debutant Blaine Boakhurst, but nevertheless, Everett has done an enormous amount, and he has got the barest amount of leather on that boot, on that ball.
Just shows the difference too when you get it deep to even number contests. Much efficient in front of goal.
Yep.
From the restart. Scramble, Savage going nowhere. Massive day of footy coming your way, don't forget. After this, Collingwood, Essendon, then Port Adelaide, Hawthorn, and then Fremantle, Sydney tonight. Some fantastic contests on offer on this Anzac Day, and this game and the next one seen live in New Zealand as well. AFL hoping to have AFL on live in New Zealand every week in the not too distant future. I'm hoping this could grow into something massive. It's just the third Anzac Day game in Wellington. I'm hoping to make it a permanent fixture. Carazzo. Stephen goes to ground. Threw it away. Sinclair. Stephen to right. Dragged down. Brilliant tackle, Cripps.
Well done, Cripps. He's growing with every game he plays. He's going to be a fine player for Carlton. Sando, just your thoughts on Arnfield. He's doing a good job on Savage. He's had a couple of possessions this quarter and really had not a lot of influence on the game. As a coach, are you concerned about a half-back being a low possession winner, or are you saying, well, that just means that their forward is basically ineffective as well?
That's just a specific role that Arnfield plays. Most clubs do that now with their with a defensive forward, if you like, just to try and limit that run and punch out of defence from the opposition's best ball user.
So do you try and get Savage back in? Are you going to move Savage to get him back in, or is it just a chess game where you're neutralising that one and you're happy with that being locked away?
I would now, if I was Richo, I'd put Savage up onto a wing or even put him forward. Just take Arnfield somewhere where he's not comfortable.
Henderson leads short. Casbolt's in the square. And doesn't go anywhere near that, all the way back to Rowe. Trying to set it up from the midfield. Buckley. Ugly handball, but Simpson under the pump. Curran wraps him up.
Really good defence by St Kilda. It's a big call to give up 50 metres of hard-earned territory. And I reckon if you are not absolutely guaranteed of going forward, you'd think twice about doing it.
Definitely.
Good crunch there. Henderson, Delaney,
Looking for the
Henderson,
line.
he threw that away. Well, it appeared to from here. Obviously not to the umpire who was right there.
That's the rule interpretation now. He got rid of the ball, whether it was an effective disposal or not, but the ball kept moving.
Still need to eradicate that throw, I think, but we can argue about that at a different time. Cripps, Billings, big pack around this.
No goalkeeper for St Kilda.
Gibbs through some traffic. Untidy kick, might still work, gets it back. It was the 1-2. Set play.
That was interesting, Jared. St Kilda had only 4 forwards ahead of the ball there, so they had 2 forwards up around that stoppage, yet they left Gibbs out the back in space as a sweeper.
Yeah, no goalkeeper at all, and I mean, this was just way too easy. Gibbs gets one possession, follows through and gets another. I think it's one of those mistakes that happens around the 5-minute mark of a quarter where fatigue's starting to set in. Blokes are sitting back, looking up at the scoreboard saying we're comfortable.
Well, Saints had the numbers at the stoppage, but too many inside, not enough on the outside of the contest. So that was one that they would have to review, I think, at half-time. Yes, we've got the numbers, but you do need balance inside and outside.
Been in the press a bit this week, Bryce Gibbs, one of his first best and fairest for the club last year, and was rewarded with a 5-year deal, and yet, according to some, might be on the trade table. We spoke to a few people in the Carlton coaching staff mid-game. They're just concerned about this week and this year right now. Henderson just out of his reach from the boot of Buckley. They still believe if they get a run going, they can make the 8 this year. And you need that belief. Players, you can't be listening to the realists. Just have to play each game and hope you can get your own momentum going and your own improvement during the season.
Got a little bit of a run on here, Carlton. Dylan Buckley, I think, is giving them a little bit of bounce off that half-back line.
He's giving a bit of punch. I like the Henderson matchup from Carlton's point of view too. He's playing on Roberton at the moment. He's kicked 2 for the quarter, Henderson, and if that kick hit his targets before, he's having his 3rd shot for goal for the quarter.
There he is. Dylan Buckley, famous name, institution at Carlton. Back in the side, and I think they're happy to have his run.
Roberton, a lot to go to. Did well in the end.
He's outnumbered. Simpson's a dangerous man across the back half here.
Nearly trapped it. Walker got one to the ear. Shrugged that. Blind turn out of the tackle. Wobbles one inside 50. Boakhurst. Good look away. Handball Carazzo.
Well, he didn't get rid of that.
The crowd roaring for it. Casbolt feeds it back to Tui. To Buckley. Jamison. Long to the square. Henderson's going to rise. Got it.
They are really starting to find some problems down there. I know they're well down on the scoreboard, but after this kick, it's going to get a lot more even by the half-time break, possibly.
And this is not going to be Henderson's kick. He marked it, but it was a free kick downfield, and Liam Jones, well, from there it shouldn't matter. Yeah,
the one-on-ones, if they can get it in quickly, is starting to be a real concern for St Kilda.
This is common, though, with young sides. So we've seen this with St Kilda so far this season. When the pressure's on, the element of, I want to try harder, I need to shut this game down. There's too many players around the ball. At the moment, Carlton are getting him on the outside.
This is for 3 in a row for the Blues and back to 8 points. And that's why you'd rather Henderson had it from directly out.
Ouch, that hurts.
Yeah, there's not really much you can say about that. I think everybody at home's saying exactly what needs to be said. Curnow. Casbolt. Walker. Buckley. Really lifted their rate, the Blues. Cripps back to Buckley and he burns them off. Straight down the middle. Henderson again. Just knocked away. Still in the area.
That's a free kick. Sure.
Jones was jumped on. Umpire said no. Armfield blazes away.
Well, right now, Dylan Buckley is a big concern for the Saints. Savage is giving them nothing. They need to get out of Savage what Buckley's giving them, and maybe Savage should go straight on to Dylan Buckley and see if he can bring him into the game, because he's a real concern, even though Sinclair is an excellent player and we've sung his praises enough. He's getting beaten just at the moment.
Now that'll be a free. Wasn't touched, went out of play. Armfield. To Bell. Oh, gee, thought he was going to get that off hands. Taken out.
Buckley's first game back for the season, Dwayne, and you've called it. He's the one that's giving him that run and punch. He's breaking lines and coming through the corridor too. Looks really dangerous.
8 games last year, had a hamstring injury, and his old man was a ripper.
Carlton kicking at 76% for this quarter. St Kilda only 58%.
Blues are stalking another couple of father-sons as well. Which might be good news for them. It helped get Geelong going. The father-son rule. Although there's a bidding process involved now, so it's not quite as lucrative. 8-4 to 6-4.
Big 3 minutes.
Absolutely.
They've got the strength. They've got Casbolt.
And they got Jones, and Saints had Longer. Schneider, and he's just taking some of the heat out of it. Using some experience, saying, let's just hold it up, slow it down, go down the line. No, doesn't. To Dempster. So he fooled everyone except Dempster, who was on the same page. They're old teammates, of course, at both clubs they've played at. Delaney.
Only space is wide here because we've got 36 players in one half of the ground.
Schneider. So this works in their favour, both to take the heat out of it and take some time off.
Been impressed though with the Blues defence in this second term. It's been much better than it has been in the first quarter. They're locking it in, they're pressing up.
Nunes drives it to Armitage. Casbolt had a piece of it. So did Walker.
Attack.
Longer steals it back. Here's Savage on the rebound. Pumps it inside 50. Curnow half held. Rowe. Ugly kick cut off by Stevens. Inside. Armitage.
Well, it was good work by Longer, who won the ball back across the back half of the wing and just got them going forward with a strong handball.
Armitage only 3 possessions this quarter.
Yeah, 3 possessions and an important goal is a much better return than just 3 possessions and a
Exactly
shot
right.
you should have conquered and you didn't.
And he was a pick 9 as well, David Armitage. Same draft as Bryce Gibbs, Spoke, Selwood. A lucrative draft for all those clubs. He misses.
Can't score a goal that end, Dwayne, for some reason. Ball's holding up. Must be the swirly wind down there.
Bell, little fumbly. Still 90 seconds left. Free kick. That is going to the Blues.
Yeah, he was held too long in the tackle, which was disappointing from an Alan Richardson perspective, because that was going to be a shot at goal.
Buckley's Knights for the quarter.
Andreas Everett. Have the Blues got one last roll of the dice here? Seesawing game. Saints have opened up leads as much as 25 points at quarter time, and then they had a lead of 26 points in the second term. Longer. 13 points the margin now, and still a chance to add to that. Sits it up. Walker gets in front of Bruce. Beat them all, and he could have the last say of the half.
It'll be a hell of a kick from there.
Yes, given that everybody's been missing at this end from straight in front. Everett kicked one and then it was overturned.
He's put the ball down, he's done up the boots, he's pulled up the socks. He's looking like he's absolutely confident this is going to go through.
Well, right behind him. Doesn't feed back, stays in play initially and not through, so...
You actually don't want a point there because that gives Carlton the ball back with 20 seconds to go.
It's an interesting discussion that we had last week. There's
Yes.
a couple of blokes who had shots at goal.
Blues won't take it on though here, unless they don't know either. Jamison, he felt for a bit of contact so he could take off. That was clever. Through Delaney. Robertson, well, they need a mark from this kick. They need to go longer with the kick though. Longer caught. He just dropped that to the deck. And it's half-time. A round 4 clash on Anzac Day from Westpac Stadium in Wellington, New Zealand. The Cake Tin, as they call it here. The Saints' 3rd game here for premiership points. Haven't won one yet. Lost both so far to Sydney and the Brisbane Lions, but at half-time they are in front by 14 points. 8-6, 54 to Carlton, 6-4, 40. Let's head to Sandy Roberts.
Thank you, Dwayne. And we'll
12, Jock McHale started. He's been awesome, Mick Malthouse. 3rd season of the Blues, 6 of the Dogs, 10 at the West Coast for a couple of flags, and 12 at Collingwood for a premiership. So a big week coming up in the build-up to him breaking that record. And anti-climax with the ball up here. We'll get a recall bounce.
Well, it is amazing. Look at that wind. It is going, we think, left to right, but there's pie packages going right to left at ground level. So it's a very swirling breeze, as Barry has told us.
Almost like there's glad wrap on the goals at the left-hand end as well. Just not letting the ball through. Seesawing match it's been so far. Good smother by Doherty. Membry goes back in, drives it long, gets a chance to bounce. Good attack. Offhand Simpson there. Gibbs caught, arms free, back to Simpson. Savage.
That final kick out of defence, so important. It's not under pressure, so you can look up and hit a target.
Armitage told to go, and Simpson cuts it off.
Got to read it better down there, the St Kilda forwards. They had to push up. See, it was a scrubber kick coming under pressure. You've got to move forward.
Doherty quickly to Everett to stand under that for a while. Cripps.
Looks like he's going head-to-head with Armitage in this term.
Jeez.
That's not a great kick.
Not sure we can blame the breeze on that either. Bruce tries to fend off, not a lot to go to. And Simpson. Same spot, same time.
They've done one, the last line of defence for Carlton in his first 3 minutes of this term. They have turned over 3 attacking options for the Saints.
Wobbles one wide, and Henderson comes up for the contest. Gibbs. Ellard. Jones in a one-on-one with Delaney. Hold each other, do some dancing. Jones pulls it in. Delaney pulls it out. Geary.
Just on Liam Jones, just an observation. I don't think he works hard enough. I don't think he plays way too predictably in straight lines. I don't see him doing the up and back circuitous leads that Nick Riewoldt does. And so he's allowing Delaney basically just to body him up under the ball.
100%, Jared. He needs to work harder off the footy.
We'll go to Barry Hall shortly. He was Barry Hall's understudy for a while. We'll see whether Barry thinks that was an issue back when Barry was teaching him the tricks of the trade.
Look, it certainly was, and his work rate is an issue. If you've seen this guy training, you'd say he's going to win a Brownlow medal. He's outstanding. He just can't emulate it in the games, unfortunately. It's all about work rate as a key forward. That's the basis of every game. So his work rate's a real issue.
Well, Baz, I used to watch you specifically as the Swans under Roosie was starting to meld their game plan that took to a premiership. And if the ball was coming down the outer wing, you'd immediately go to the other side of the ground to enable you to swing back, do a Huey, and be in front of the goals when the ball finally got there. As we speak about Jones, he takes a big leap. But I see Jones just do straight line work.
Yeah, he does, and you've got to preempt sometimes, and it might be just a simple case of stepping on the right side of your man just to get into that body position.
Bryce Gibbs might go all the way home. He does. There's the start the Blues are after.
That was unusual because Cripps actually called then for Gibbs to come and block for him. Gibbs shook him off and said, no, give me the ball. We'll see it here on the replay. Cripps calls for him to come and block. Gibbs shakes him off, looks at Bell running down the open side of the ground, but instead he's a beautiful kick. There it is there. Cripps wanted him to come and block. Gibbs has got the poise there, and yeah, that's class. That's class, Dwayne.
And just to finish your point on Liam Jones, do you need the football smarts, though, to run to the right spots? Work rate's one thing, but running to the right spots is something that some people just know innately through their junior career.
I think he's getting to the right spot, Dwayne, but he's getting there in such a predictable manner that his man is always there with him. He's not working hard enough to get himself the break, so he's getting a number of uncontested marks to go with his contested ones.
Yeah, the second, third, fourth lead is so important these days, and that wasn't necessarily something that happened years ago. Carlton on a roll here, and Arnfield might go all the way to the big sticks. Jones is down there, the man we've been talking about. Crashes it down. Fisher to Geary. So the Saints under some pressure early here.
And again, it was Dempster for the 17,000th time in his career. He's dropped off his opponent to impact on a contest, helping out his teammate.
It's one thing they've done really well, the Saints, today. Geary, Dempster, Fisher have been the first three St Kilda players back there to outnumber. Fantastic.
As you can see, it's our pleasure to have the National Academy head coach, former Adelaide coach, Geelong best and fairest as well, Brenton Sanderson, with Gerard Healy and Barry Hall for the broadcast today from Wellington. Little push, that'll be a free. Still on behind the boundary line.
Yeah, Bell went in to make a point, slipped over.
You just joined us. Saints opened up a 26-point margin in the second term. There's been some runs of 3 goals in a row to both teams.
Well, right now, Dwayne, this has got all the hallmarks of a last 2 or 3 minute decider. It's got cliffhanger written all over it.
Spot on. I agree.
Oh, Henderson, well, Jones plucked it, but Henderson will get the free. This is the complete opposite to what happened in the second term. When Henderson marked, Jones got the free and missed from 12 metres out. So this might be in the right hands here.
His kicking earlier in the game has been absolutely sensational. Probably needs to start it right, because the last couple have faded across the face of the goal.
And this is for number 4 for Lockie Henderson.
They are hard to kick that in today,
John. Started right and it just stayed its line.
Huddle again from St Kilda. They break now. Well held up by the Blues.
Savage to himself. Some pressure on the kick. It wobbles. Longer. Murphy slung.
Professional free kick. Oh no, he's
slick.
Holding the ball, yeah. I thought it was a professional free kick there by Murphy, but
cut off. Arnfield got there. Blues are on a roll here. Just need to complete it.
Big ball, this one. This is a really big ball for Loney.
And you can feel it in the stadium. The momentum could be shifting. Loney inside 50. Good punch away. And Buckley had a good second term. Oh, until that moment, it was having a good game. Turnover. Bruce, this could cost.
Well, we talked about him at half-time, Buckley, and that's what he does. He runs straight lines through the middle of the ground, really opens the game up. But they just tried to over-process it, just tried to do a little bit too much. He had one-on-ones deep inside forward 50, tried to do that a little bit too much. St Kilda are going to make him pay.
Once again, it was Jack Loney who's been so impressive in his early start to his career.
That's what you want. Young kids that come into your side that want to chase, want to tackle, want to pressure. They're the ones you don't mind giving games to when they're in their first or second season.
Particularly when they get it and they go bang and put it on somebody's chest.
And that stings. Good punch to land.
Well, they needed that one, the Saints, because the St Kilda backline has been right on top. They've been taking the ball in poorly, and if they don't fix up their inside 50 entries, they won't win the game. But once again, it was Jack Loney. That's his second turnover ball through his negative work. Picked up by Billings, who executed a sensational pass.
I do feel a little bit for Sam Rowe there. He's thinking that ball's going to go inside Carlton's forward 50. Just switches off for a split second, and all of a sudden the ball goes straight to his opponent, kicks a goal.
What's the stat Jack Loney gets for that, by the way?
He gets the best stat. That is the coach knows that he's created the goal. And you see there Shenton, he'd be very much in a defensive role on Andrew Walker, doing a similar thing to what Arnfield is doing.
Intensity's lifted from both teams. Stephen.
Good punch.
Fist away, Membry. Defensive fist. They can reset.
Once again, not a great kick inside from Jack Stephen. It dipped. Didn't give Membry any chance whatsoever. It's an area that he just needs to go up another level in. He's an excellent player, but his kicking could go another leap forward.
Doherty
Oh,
And they can run this through legally. Just. Doherty to himself.
yeah, good break here by the Blues, but the kick no good.
Ellard thumped it away from Geary. Cripps. Murphy. Casbolt holds on. Off the ball, Murphy's ball. Buckley, he'll kick it this time, you'd think. Henderson.
Once again, a handball around the back. Who kicks the ball short and wide to the boundary line.
Oh, yeah. That was the free. How are we going there for insufficient force?
At best it'll be, or at worst for him, it'll be cash out of the pocket.
Yeah, spot on.
But the retaliator always goes. Murphy impacted initially, not too much, but Jack gave him something. Jack Nance gave him something with a little bit of interest on it. And after a quiet second term, after a brilliant first term, he's got a couple of possessions early. You want to stamp his mark on it. If they're to get across the line, you'd expect Murphy and Gibbs have to have big second halves. And here he goes.
Here's Murphy. And he fired a chest. Anderson.
Dwayne, I don't like how they go so wide here. I think they've looked the best today when they've taken their game on. They've come through the corridor. They've got the ball to the top of the goal square. That's when I think Carlton have looked their best today, but continually they go wide.
Yeah, it has been Mick's more default game plan in the eyes of most football watchers for a while. I don't think it's always his plan, but it seems as if they do revert to that.
Well, it's much harder to score from a turnover there because it's a protected attacking position. But I just think today's the day. Attack the top of the goal square. Carlton look dangerous when they get it deep.
Murphy tucked into that pocket. Trying to make something of it. Carazzo.
Forwards always in front.
Ellard to have the shot.
Good perseverance by the Blues, though. There's a couple of stoppages. They had to win a couple of clearances. And eventually it's the quick kick forward, and Ellard's in the right spot.
Speaking about going wide, it's also the responsibility of the forward to lead down the middle.
Yeah,
they need to square up when they get in the forward half. If you're leading wide, that's the easiest place to lead. You've got to ride the ball at sometimes, just lead up the middle.
You're right, Baz. As a former defender, I loved it when my opponent led wide to the pocket.
We should be able to put this straight in the book. Blues have been on the ropes a few times, but again, they fight their way back.
Well, it's certainly not the prettiest game of footy we've seen, but it's a really tight contest, and a lot of it is coming down to who wins these clearances. And this time was Murphy. Gets a Shepherd. Nice little dinky balk, and then unleashes Carazzo, who just hacked it forward, but the forward was in the dangerous spot.
Yep, that's all it takes. Forwards in front, first to move. Back to 8 points. This is a critical centre clearance, you'd think.
Absolutely. The Blues have not led today, if you've just joined us. Saints have led it from the outset. Carazzo to Curnow. Ellard, good ball attack there, kept it in front. Dunstan wrapped him up. Gibbs wrapped up by Stephen through his legs.
Good hands.
Loney to Billings, they're away. Membry's on the move, it's too far out in front.
Well, Billings came into this team as a high-profile draft pick that had a reputation for kicking the ball well. Well, it's time he started delivering because he's just not hitting enough targets.
It was a pick 3 2 years ago, and you need your pick 3s to be good these days. You can't waste a pick 3.
Well, we saw him wheel onto his left in the second quarter and just belt one through the goals from 40 metres out. Instinctive goal. I mean, he's got great skill, but he's got to make sure that 90% of his kicks hit those targets. Inside forward 50. That's what he's being paid for.
Yeah, clubs and supporters have to go through a lot of pain to get a pick 3.
Push Membry back as a spare behind the ball here. St Kilda opening up their forward half.
Tui, kick half smothered. In fact, The ball itself wasn't touched, just his leg.
Worrying sign for St Kilda here. We're 14 and a half minutes into the quarter. 7 players haven't touched the ball this quarter. A third of their team yet to touch the ball.
Right. And again, they've got the numbers. Casbolt couldn't quite slide in and take it away. And Dunstan in the middle. Couldn't hold the mark. Still gets a chance here. Crunch.
Great tackle. That's Cripps.
He's got good vision, that Jack Loney. I'm so impressed with him, with the ball in his hands and not in his hands. He's a fantastic pickup that all St Kilda supporters should be pretty excited about.
Cameron Wood. Didn't look pretty, but it might be effective. Boakhurst wrapped up this time. And blame Burkhurst for those Blues fans. 21-year-old, oldest player picked in the first round of last year's draft. They've invested in him, and this is first afternoon at the office, and he's looked good at times. Bruce.
Jeez, he's tight inside.
20 players around this ball. Gibbs. Here's Loney. Can he bounce it over some heads?
Wow, that's how good he is.
The beauty of the Sharon.
Jared called it. It was really hot inside there. It was whoever could spill it out, whoever could get on the loose ball. It was our boy Loney, who's had a fantastic game today. He's the opportunist. Well played, St Kilda.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. Just watch him read the ball best. Nice little snapper with the left hand. It was always going to bounce high in the first bounce because it was spinning so hard. And there's a great tackle. That set it up, that tackle on Gibbs. Allows Super Boot Loney into the ball. And he gets a rest for a couple of minutes. They won't want him off the ground too long. 11 disposals, 1 goal. He would have been involved. I'll give you his score involvements shortly, but it would have been multiple.
I'll get you to talk us through the physics of that as well, Jared, because that was always going to bounce high. Everybody knew it. The spinning ball. It is amazing how unpredictable it can be, and yet how predictable at times it can be as well.
And if you reckon you're going to get a serious scientific explanation, Dwayne, you'll be waiting a long time.
St Kilda made a move on the sub, boys. Ahmad Saad has come into the game for McCartney. McCartan, sorry.
Cool. Hasn't had a big impact, but as Brenton Sanderson told us at the start of the game, the taller players, the key position players, take a few more years than the midfielders when they first come in.
4 years, Tom Hawkins, Dwayne, to really establish himself as a regular in Geelong's senior side.
Dunstan tries the scramble forward. Walker, did he have it? Dunstan's got it and gives it away. Bell, Murphy, Carazzo, play on advantage.
Oh, he blew the whistle, then played advantage.
Did he ever? And that turned them all around. Long kick from outside 50, and he gets the roll.
It's one of the great controversies, I think, in our game as far as umpiring is concerned. In every other field sport, they don't blow the whistle for an advantage. And I think we have tried it in our game, and it hasn't really worked too well. But there's no doubt that the Saints players, they stopped when they heard the whistle. Interesting execution, that one. And it probably didn't impact when you look at it unfold, but it has over the years.
It's an exciting game, Dwayne. 8 points here.
Absolutely. It's the kind of game that, if you go to win some fans here in New Zealand, could bring more back to the footy next year. And there might be a huge sting in the tail left. The Blues have not led today, but a few times they've had the momentum running their way and looked a chance to steal it. And looking that way again now. Gives a chance, couldn't get it away. Wood scrambles it to half forward. Casbolt the big leap. Bell kicked the last one. Knows where they are. Wow. 2 in a minute to Bell.
He's actually had a pretty good season too, Dwayne. This is the culmination of 3 or 4 years on Carlton's list. He's averaging 19 disposals, 4 clearances and a goal during the pre-season, and 20 disposals, 8 contested possessions, 3 tackles. This is a player that's just been waiting in the wings, waiting for his opportunity, and this year so far he's really taken advantage of it.
Just a good runner. He just gives everything he's got each and every week. I think it's he's at his best when it's as simple as the goals are in front of me. I'm going to kick it.
He's a big bull too, isn't he? He's a real big bull.
That's a good breakaway from Jaron Geary.
So 2 points the margin. Can they steal the lead for the first time in this match, Carlton? Saints have led by as much as 26. Alan Richardson, Mick Malthouse, head to head. Murphy. Gibbs. Murphy was dumped. Slips the pass, and this is for the lead from Arnfield's boot.
I think you'll find here in this one, Dwayne, that Dunstan's gone to half-back. Now, he wouldn't have played much across the half-back line as a younger player. He's been mostly a midfielder. I think he was picking up Arnfield here, and Arnfield's just slipped him. I think he went back to help out the other defenders, and Arnfield just found space.
So a hush falls over Westpac Stadium. All the Saints fans here who've had plenty to roar so far. And they breathe a sigh of relief there. It's a 1-point game.
And the Blues have made the move on their sub. Matthew Dick comes into the game. And Michael Jamison out. He might be a bit sore.
Well, it's a big cloud coming into the match, and he really hasn't contributed too much. So early move by the Blues to strike back.
Pressure on the kick in. Bell slapped down. Murphy still a chance to take the lead. Longer. Blues with the numbers. Cripps. Stolen back by Nunes. He's dumped. And it's getting a little warm in the cake tin.
Yeah, you can just see the Saints starting to feel the pressure, making some horrible skill errors. That kick from full back was not good. They get a chance to relieve the pressure temporarily here.
Free kick to Loney. Cut off. Everett. He spills it. Can he get a toe on it? Blues in front. Ugly, yet beautiful.
Well, that's the pressure I was talking about. Just a really good kid. We've sung his praises. But on that occasion, he went for a little bit too much. And the pressure of the Blues is starting to tell.
Yeah, you're right. And Loney, very poor decision. And every Carlton player letting him know about it too. Every Carlton player went up and got in his face. He's just jogged back to the wing now, the young kid. We'll see how he responds.
It's always difficult, but right now he's a mile in front of most Carlton players that are sticking it up him. But he'd be feeling pretty devastated at the present time. There's a long way left to make amends.
They've actually got 8 behind the ball now at St Kilda. They've got 2 extra defenders.
Well, this is trying to hold the momentum. In doing so, they want to make sure that they don't give the match away, because the Blues are winning it at the source at the present time.
I think you're right, Jared. It's been a coach's box call. Throw some numbers back. Try and stop the bleeding a little bit.
The Blues are going with them. They're not going to be outnumbered down there. They've got 1 extra.
And they get the clearance here.
So it's a pretty busy forward line, but if they keep winning it from the centre and getting it to leads like that, it's going to go straight over the extra defenders' heads.
Henderson plays on. Centering kick. Bell's there. Casbolt's there. Almost Everett over the top of the lot. Schneider. Armitage. Delaney. Trouble. Henderson wraps him up. He flicks it out. Billings in some trouble. Half a handball, if that. Right. This is not the same St Kilda we saw in the first half. Boakhurst, did he drop into a high tackle?
I think he did, Dwayne, and the umpire also acknowledged that, because he didn't pay the free kick.
And it's on behind play as well. Intensity is up. Cripps had it, lost it. Longer. Saad now on. Sub. Trying to give them something. Gibbs. Good spot to hit. Casbolt got a fist on it. Sinclair let it slip. Savage dives in. Geary to Robertson. Everything under pressure now for the Saints, and he bangs it. Makes it somebody else's problem. Murphy will get there. Nunes right with him. Flicks it to Simpson. And the Blues are taking it on now. Come inside. Tui. He's got Doherty if he wants him. He doesn't want him. He wants Buckley instead, and he can go. Wood. The 1-2 to Buckley. Arnfield. Oh, he wanted to go back to Buckley. It didn't work. Sinclair.
That's Buckley's man, Sinclair.
Boakhurst. Walker. Cripps. Longer. It's chaos at the moment. Arnfield. Boakhurst for his first.
Well, they're incapable at the moment of putting a chain together, St Kilda. It's breaking down under Carlton's really good pressure and some poor decisions by the Saints, but they just need to somehow get some composure back.
One of the reasons, Jared, is they've subbed McCartan, which is fine because he's been quiet in this game, but now you've only got one tall forward. You've only got Bruce as your only tall option. What we've seen now since McCartan's been subbed is St Kilda go really wide. They almost need a taller target just to dump the ball to if they need to.
And this kid's just showing us what he has got in his weaponry. That's a great mark.
And he's never kicked an AFL goal. Patrick Cripps. So a big moment coming up for him. Big moment for a few players. Got Matthew Dick, just been subbed on for his first AFL game. Blaine Boakhurst playing his first and 50.
It's falling apart here for the Saints. No one even minding the mark.
So his first goal, and he will never get an easier one.
Well, it's been a massive quarter for this young kid. 9 possessions and a goal now. 2 kicks. We know he's a handball machine. 7 handballs. 7 contested possessions.
We talked about the pressure at half-time. The side that could get on top and force the other side into mistakes is going to win this game. St Kilda are kicking the ball at 43% this quarter, which will not win your games of footy. That's where Carlton have lifted. They've put some heat around the footy. They're dumping it now after subbing McCartan. The momentum definitely shifted in Carlton's favour.
Yeah, their rebound out of defence has been horrendous. What was their great strength has become a serious weakness. Savage, we haven't seen any of his lightning dashes across that half-back line. That's coming back.
And a few of those that have been recalled today.
Well, clubs are training this situation to possess the ball for a couple of minutes, but as you said, Jared, St Kilda are incapable of doing it at the moment. The skill level is terrible.
Gibbs. Boy, threw Schneider out. Play on advantage. Armitage pokes it open for Membry. Tui got in front.
That's just overthinking the footy. There's a poor decision from David Armitage, who did well to win it, but he had one long and he had one really short, and he went to the middle.
Casbolt 2 to beat. Wright gets it to ground. Geary.
Target.
Right. Bruce. 2 to beat. Might beat them both. Didn't quite bounce for him. Saad ties it up.
That is the issue, though. When you've only got one tall target to kick the ball to, much easier for Carlton's defenders to read where that ball's going to go. We saw Simpson or Buckley then come across and outnumber in the air, provided 2v1 in the marking contest.
Well, to help justify the decision, the coach needs Ahmed Saad to kick a goal or two, and that's a throw. Got away with it.
Didn't get rewarded. Now he's in trouble.
He looked around. He's trying to handball it. Tackle came in and was unlucky not to be rewarded.
Cripps.
Cripps again.
Robertson. Longer. Centering kick. Good cut off. Henderson got back.
Big
Let ahead.
rebound.
No one to kick to, so he now has to wait. He kicks in Arnfield's direction. Dempster might get there first. Arnfield with the speed. And now he's got Jones. Jones ran super hard. That's the work rate, Barry Hall. Jared Healy and Brenton Sanderson were talking about earlier.
It's a fantastic pattern too, back to goal by Jones. He saw the turnover. Henderson squirts it out wide to Arnfield, and then he ran a really smart 45-degree angle back towards goal, and hopefully he can reward himself here with a really important major.
There you see Sam Fish. He just lost his man. He was trying to block the space, thinking he was going to go to the deepest forward. And a smart kick to the corridor.
Massive kick for his confidence.
Gets too close to the man on the mark.
He has a tendency to spray him off the right, doesn't he?
He does lay back on him a bit too, and as you see, he slices the ball quite a bit, so he just needs to put his head over it a little bit more.
Geary.
Gee, what sort of kick was that? Luckily, he
Geary.
can follow up his own word. Well, clean up his own mess, one.
Absolutely. Ellard. Danger again. Dempster bumped off it. Jones working hard. Just crazy kind of scramble. Thrown out. Attack from Carazzo. Boakhurst. Carazzo. Curnow.
Well, it's not pretty, but it's entertaining, and it's been a great fight back from Carlton. Let's put, I guess, the game into perspective. They were just about shot at quarter time, and yet they've fought their way back and have now got a 2-goal lead plus a little bit.
You would think they'd be reasonably confident, the Blues. They have won the past 3 against the Saints, and the last time these two teams met, Carlton won by 14 goals. So you would think they were always confident of being able to make a run. Nunes. In fact, Billings it is. Back pocket.
He's going for the super long kick that's a free chance to be intercepted. He got away with it.
Fisher. Here's Nunes.
Got to put a chain or two together here, Saints.
Gave it to Billings under pressure.
Shouldn't call for that.
Ellard. Saints have got numbers back. Delaney. Oh, good grab.
That's okay, but get up and move it quickly, because it's coming one side, it's going to be spare on the other.
Shenton.
This defence has been so much better than we've seen from Carlton for a period of time. It is forcing St Kilda into some horrible errors, a game like that one.
He's gone here, right? He dragged it in. He's cooked. Cripps.
And that's just giving the ball back to them.
That's a goal you put down to team defence, because St Kilda had nothing to kick to. The defence by Carlton all across the ground, man on man, really good front position. And this kid Cripps, this is going to be his 12th possession for the quarter, could be his 2nd goal. And for Carlton fans back home watching this game, it's been Cripps, it's been Bell. They've been the younger players who have really stood up this quarter when Carlton really needed them to.
Well, came into this game with just 5 games under his belt and no goals. Just knocked through on the line.
Big let off for the Saints right there. It's been a game of momentum swings. Just wondering whether there's another swing left in St Kilda's legs, because it's all Carlton. That's better. It was tackle-led in the first quarter. It'll be tackle-led if they to win this match.
They could steal one late here. This is the first game of Matthew Dick. 21 years of age this year, so he's not young. Was on Sydney's list for a little while, but didn't get an AFL game. Carazzo.
We spoke about the tackling, and that's what the Blues got on top in this quarter. It's been 12 turnover tackles in their forward half, which is obviously why they're scoring a hell of a lot more.
Henderson edged out of it by Delaney. That'll stay in. Nunes. Dunstan.
That's better through the middle.
Armitage can go. Crunch. Good. Fist away by Walker. Saab landed well. Flicked past a couple of Shenton. Wrapped up. Geary. Good hands. Loney tried the chisel kick. Didn't work. He was dumped after.
There's a free kick going forward to Jack Stephen, who's been held. And he gets an opportunity to give the Saints a little bit of breathing space coming into this last quarter. Now, he does tend to put a bit of a dip on them, so he needs to hit this one straight out of the middle.
It's an important kick.
Jack Stephen, you're right behind him. You've got the best seat in the house here to watch this home. And it's across the face on the siren. Speaking of the best seat in the house, wall-to-wall football coming your way on Fox Footy today. Later on tonight, Fremantle and Sydney, Port Adelaide and Hawthorn before that. And straight after the conclusion of this clash here, the big one at the MCG, Collingwood v.
His bread and butter, but he's had 14 possessions. He's done all the hard work as well. He's had 10 contested, 4 tackles. But geez, this guy is 98 kilos. He runs around the half forward and in the midfield. Hasn't our game changed? What a hard man to match up on.
So who's going to find the footy for the Saints? Who is going to take it up to the Blues?
Early momentum could be massive here. Carlton right now 17th on the AFL ladder. No wins for the season. Lose. And it could be bottom of the ladder after 4 rounds. But they win and suddenly they get some momentum back. And for the Saints, well, they could be last at the end of this round, or they could be snapping at the heels of the top 8. High tackle.
That was a shame for Geary, because Gibbs fumbled that. If Gibbs doesn't fumble, he tackles him.
Takes off, does Gibbs. Pumps it forward. Just over the back.
There's been a few push-outs been allowed to be played on in this term. It's an interesting one. It's a difficult one, I think, for the game to come to grips with. They're trying to protect blokes with their head over the ball, and yet so many players almost inflict their own head-high contact.
Lead with the head, yeah, very dangerous.
Fisher. Sard's going to have to go here. Good fist away. Murphy, Sard, and the man who fisted it, Doherty, takes him to the line.
Well, that is an interesting one in the new interpretation, because Sard took possession. His immediate response was to fend away. Now, that should have been a free kick, but it would have been completely and utterly unjust if it was.
That's right.
And how's that going to be read? Is that deliberate? Nope. Schneider got away with it.
Big test for the Saints now, I think, boys, is where does their leadership come from? We've got no Rewalt, we've got no Montagna, we've got Geary today acting skipper. They're 14 points down in the last quarter, must-win game. Who's going to stand up for them?
Yeah, and the same maybe could be asked of the Blues. There's been a few question marks over Mark Murphy's captaincy. Chris Judd not playing today. Their ex-captain, of course. No Chris Yarran to breathe some life into the game if suddenly they get into trouble. So this is huge for these two teams in terms of their own belief in each other for the rest of the year. Simpson, quick hack inside 50, but front spot Shenton. Billings.
So Shenton's gone from forward to back, and the mistakes continue.
Bell, goal. And that's nasty for the Saints.
Another one of their kids, Billings, unfortunately, there kicks into the man on the mark. It's been the story of the day. It's been pressure around the footy, but some of these unforced errors, if you like to call them, have really hurt the Saints.
Yeah, it started about halfway through the second quarter when the Blues started to really ramp up their forward pressure and their pressure around the ball. And now we're seeing really good decision makers, albeit inexperienced ones, make horrendous mistakes like that. And that has put them in this really difficult position.
Loney in the third quarter, Billings start of the fourth quarter. There's two goals that the Saints would love to have back.
Biggest margin of the game now for the Blues. They've come from 26 down to lead by 20. Wood hammers it inside 50, and Casbolt takes the mark. And if he drives this through, their confidence would be sky high.
It's hard to come back from turnovers like that, and they've only two. There's probably been a dozen.
Yep.
But they're the ones that are highlighted because they obviously result in direct goals, and Alan Richardson would know right now that this game is fast slipping, if not slipped away from them. This one goes through. It's going to be an incredible turnaround if they get back to a competitive spot. And it's a fantastic performance by the Blues, who were looking at an really invidious position at 0-4, and that man is nowhere near closer to solving the riddle, and it's probably a $500 million riddle for him.
It's the yips.
Because he goes from a $350,000 player as a good mark to a $800,000 player who's sought by everybody if he can kick 50 a year.
100%.
Sav Rock are working with him, and that looks like it's going to be a long piece of work.
Big couple of minutes with the Saints. This game's not over for them. They need to still take the game on. I'd get the instructions out. Let's start going down the middle. Let's start taking the game on. Get some overlap handball. Start playing on from our marks. Let's try and put Carlton back under pressure with our attack.
Once again, that was an experienced player. It doesn't turn into a direct goal, but that's a horrible kick as well.
Henderson. And did he juggle that over the line? The umpire said he did. Not paid.
Sando, as a coach, what do you say to the young Saints that are causing some turnovers? Do you encourage them to keep having a go on them?
No, 100%. I think now, and this is what's happened with St Kilda these first 3 or 4 rounds, they've played some really good footy, and even today they were well on top in the first half. But what shows character, what shows spirit and culture, is the ability to just play this game out. Keep taking it on. Don't drop your head.
Longer and Wood. Ton of time left in it. Armitage. Longer. Ugly bounce for Loney, and Bruce attacked it nicely. And they run forward. There's no one ahead of this ball. It's all about who gets it. Oh, Stephen went off the deck.
Take the footy there.
Curnow. Stephen Not a lot to go to. Right. Not a lot to go to. Delaney. Now they run for him. He sits it up in hope. Can Membry get a job? He waited. Loney landed like a cat. Bends it around magnificently. The kid can play.
He is lucky he kicked it, though.
Absolutely, he's lucky.
He has Savage there just for a very fundamental handball on the outside of the contest, but...
Yeah, but we are seeing the unfolding of a super talent. But Shane would have been horribly savage had this not gone through, because there he was. It was a handball that should have been given, and he would have seen him because he sees most things. He got away with one, really, because he dropped what he should have taken, and that's the get-out-of-jail card for you. But it gives them just a little bit of a sniff, the Saints.
14 points, still alive.
Comes from good footy stock. Jack Loney, of course, in the family. He's Nathan and Ryan's cousin. Still only 18 years of age. So he's got a huge upside on what he's showing us as an 18-year-old. Schneider.
Yeah, not sure about that handball. He would have been under enormous pressure, but...
Dunstan, Saad. Here's Loney again. Can he get on the end of it? He's stalking it. Curno's with him. And Loney's saying, come on, give me the ball, I'm hot.
Weight of numbers got them through. But Snyder, for me, you've got them under pressure. Get it to the top of the square. Give Bruce a chance.
Loney. Dunstan. Arms free, slung.
Better pressure from the Blues, leading with your head, and he's got away with it.
That's exactly what you were talking about. Jared and Brenton, should that be paid a free?
No, that should not be paid a free. That's dangerous. Yes, the player gets rewarded with a free kick, but we don't want to see that in our game.
Well, the Rules Committee met this week, and from my understanding, what they're tossing up is whether or not that is not even a play on. That's actually a free against.
Yes, that's exactly right.
From outside 50, gives it a ride, goal square, off hands Tui, caught. Longer, Savage, the ricochet, Yoons dumped. Longer dumped. Membry dumped. Carazzo gets it out.
Just
Simpson.
a bit of inexperience from Nunes there. You have to know you're going to be under pressure there, so it's got to go to a handball to an outside player that's got some time and some momentum to kick a goal.
Oh, that's an awesome steal by Henderson. Just didn't roll for Everett.
That was our boy Cripps too, who had 3 or 4 really important tackles right out the front of the goal mouth of St Kilda.
Put a bit of weight on, as in muscle, it would appear, Cripps, over the last 12 months.
I think he broke a leg a couple of years ago, so you spend a bit of time in a gym when you break a leg. Carazzo taken out. He's only a tiny kid, had a growth spurt in his teens. Patrick Cripps. He's signed long term as well until the end of 2017, which is good news. Longer in the back, not paid. Saad.
Oh, in the back.
In the back, that was paid. A few Saints fans fighting voice, and they run here. Dangerous. Jones almost cuts it off. Fisher, the finger tipper.
Dempster's run hard forward here. He's going to be rewarded.
Arm slap free. He's got the first gamer on him as well, so big task for Matthew Dick.
They haven't won too much possession in the last 5 minutes or so, Carlton. They want to put the cue in the rack too early.
Fisher sits it up to the hot spot. Casbolt.
Kick was not deep enough.
No, it was a cold spot in reality, wasn't it?
Too shallow.
Everett. Hillard.
Nothing to kick too forward here, though. Saints are back.
Still 14 points the margin. The Blues just need to show some poise. They've come from 26 down. A wobbler.
All avenues were blocked off. Good team defence there by the Saints, but those tackles shouldn't be broken.
Oh, bang to his back.
Gee, is that not bad?
It was heavy to the back, and they can't pay that one. Oh, they did after not paying the last one.
Yeah.
Oh, playing advantage. He took his legs out. Okay. Saad tried to get away
Great
from
tackle.
Tui. Slung.
Great tackle. That ball was gone, and Tui has affected a turnover tackle.
Carazzo. Everybody takes a breath.
Once again, though, Sano, the point you're making, the Saints electing to go super wide there. That's when right. They need to attack with minimal time left. They need to attack down the middle, and they had that opportunity to take it on up the middle.
100%. 14 points down, halfway through the fourth quarter. I think you've got to take the game on now, get some overlap run, punch the ball deep inside 50.
Yeah, that's the free, took the legs out on the way down. Saints have the numbers here. Or that could be high on
The
Ella.
same. That is exactly the
He
same.
took his legs out. And he's hurt his leg as well.
Ouch. Does Robin have a duty of care there? Should he be jumping out of the way?
I'm not sure. I think that's one of those ones. He didn't slide in. He won the ball, and the other guy was 3 metres away.
Yeah.
I think that was just a circumstantial one you're not going to get away with.
Boakhurst. And it drifts across the face. So the Saints get it
I
back.
think he might have been pushed from behind as well.
We saw Bartel seriously damage his knee last week in a similar sort of incident where he had a player, I guess, slide into his legs. But
So here's Ellard's injury. Oh, it's a head clash with Boakhurst.
bit of friendly fire.
And if he's bleeding, he'll have to have play stopped and come off under the blood rule anyway. Boakhurst is off.
And you just spoke about Robertson and his leg injury. He's just come off the ground, so I'll keep an eye on that as well.
I think it is something they will discuss, the umpires, through the week. There was a really bad one not paid last night with, I think, 6 seconds to play in the third quarter. It would have resulted in another goal to Melbourne and probably iced the game for Melbourne. They got away with it, obviously, with a big win, but it was a free kick that I think, under any interpretation of that new rule, had to be paid.
Allard coming off with the blood, as you can see. Yeah, the interesting one as well is if the player that's going to ground has the ball at the time that he goes to ground into the legs of the player standing there waiting to tackle.
It's interesting too now. Boakhurst is off with blood. Ellard's off with blood. Jamison's been subbed, who's in the red jacket. Should we now consider, should now Jamison be allowed to come back on the ground? That's one for the rules committee.
That's a very good question, but I suppose it depends on if Jamison's off injured as well. He was carrying one to come in.
That's a good point.
Good hands. Nunes. Armitage goes back into traffic. Right. Just launched it forward. Schneider's the only man who can go for it. Doherty had a piece of it, but let it drop. Rowe. Bell. Kick and hope finds Cripps.
What we do know is the Blues are down. They're a bit unders for energy right now. Saints have got to take advantage of this, get it, and just try and outrun them for the next 5 minutes and see what happens.
They don't have rotations. Arnfield. And it rolls out of play.
You are right, Jared, but I did look off the play there. A lot of St Kilda players walking, hands on hips. I think they're pretty spent. This is a young side. They've thrown everything at the Blues today. I think they want to lift. I just don't think they've got the capacity to do so.
It's not a long oval, but it's a very wide oval, almost a circle. So a lot of ground to cover. Ball up.
Well, the first part of that equation is to prevent Carlton kicking a goal and get it up the other end of the ground, because another goal and you would say it's just about coffin closed scenario.
Bell. Oh, he got a kick away.
Too strong, too big.
He's kicked 4, and that's the record here.
Set play too. It was a little tap to Bell. He was just sitting in the right spot, but on the burst. And unfortunately, the St Kilda player wasn't able to wrap him up. Geary.
He just kept on motoring, didn't he? I mean, Geary probably couldn't have done much more. He had him side by side. There was a player in between, Loney, who really didn't do enough.
No, try to tackle with the arm, not the body, if that makes sense.
He needed to take his line and prevent him going through. He's the new Dipper. Dipper played on the wing at 100 kilos and 6'1" in the old.
4 goals for Tom Bell. Boakhurst is back on, and the Blues have some breathing space. 21 points. Dunstan. Sard's under this. He's going to have to jump. Big leapers go up. Hits the deck. Buckley, slick hands. Murphy. Advantage paid. Gibbs. Murphy. Experienced players showing some poise here to Henderson, who was dumped after. So this will be Henderson's ball.
This is that leadership part. Dwayne, that I was talking about before. They're just lacking it a little bit at the moment.
So Buckley coming off. We'll keep an eye on that. Carazzo. Everett likes a jump. Now it's a Saints ball.
Looks hurt too, Buckley. Might just be a nasty cork in the quad. Ankles.
So, yeah, he's had some ankle problems as well, Dylan Buckley. He had some ankle ligament issues in his under-18 career. So hopefully it's not the same one, re-injured. Saints get a huge break here. Armitage to Dunstan, who can get and go. Sard's their go-to player at the moment, but they've overcooked the pass to him. Subbed on, so he should be fresh.
Well, maybe if you're going to sub him on and keep him fresh, he's got to go up to the middle of the ground and see if he can generate some run.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wood hammers it clear. So 2-on-2 on the wing. Fisher gets there first. Delaney about to get caught, put him under the hammer.
It's one of the problems of having specialist small forwards. If they can't play midfield,
That's right.
and Sard hasn't had a lot of history of doing it, then you really are cruel. And I think it's one of the reasons Essendon's a much better side this year than they were the last couple. They've got some small players who can play forward. They can also go through the middle rotations.
And his footy fitness could be down a little as well after a whole year out of the game. Ahmed Sard. Gibbs kept his feet, and Cripps could be their hero. Henderson, if it sits, he's away. And he slams it through into the second tier.
I think justifiable that those two boys were part and parcel of that final goal.
Really good signs here for Carlton now that some of these kids, we've talked about Bell, we've talked about Cripps, we've talked about Henderson. These boys still very young in their development, but they're the ones today when Carlton really needed a lift. It's been their younger players have been the ones that have really stood up.
Well, the last goal anyway, because they when you think about it, it was Henderson, I think, keeping them in the game in the first half. And it was Cripps himself in the third and second quarter, along with Buckley, I think, that were very much part and parcel of riding the deficit.
Saints, Stephen, touched, ball over the back. Sinclair can't make something of it. Time running out for the Saints. If they don't get up here, as we see Buckley at least walking around as if he can come back on, if the Saints don't get up, it'll be 3 games in a row. It's a home game here in Wellington for 3 losses. Longer knocks it down. Stephen taken to the line by Curnow.
The good news for Buckley, sorry boys, the good news for Buckley is it's a bit of a knock to the thigh. It's not his ankle injury, so that's a really good news for Carlton.
That is good news. I just think with the Saints, I just think now you've got Membry and Bruce as your 2 key forwards. Bruce has played 27 games. Membry's played 4 games. McCartan got subbed off. This was only his 2nd game today, so still very young in their development. They're key forwards for the St Kilda team, but that's why they've gone wide today, particularly after half-time.
Good news for the Blues also. They've got 2 first-gamers out there, so no Judd, and they're going to have to plan for the post-Judd era fairly quickly, the Blues. If they get up here, Mick Malthouse can at least say, well, we're playing still for 2015, and who knows where we can finish. Simpson stands under this. That was weird. Loney bends it around the body, and Everett gets back. Last line of defence. Matthew Dick, he's one of the first gamers. Patui scrambles it to Walker.
Savage has pushed into that forward line.
50.
He just has not been able to find the footy this afternoon.
Nope.
Henderson leads short, and it's on it, and he's got it. And this is for 5.
He's been good today, hasn't he? He's been so good, and not just a second half player. He was there when it counted in the first half. One of the few in the first quarter that was showing some energy.
Well, I watched him behind the scenes, boys. He put a hell of a lot of body work into Dempster. He was one-on-one inside 50, did the body work early, got a bit of space, now he's on the end of it.
Well, he kicked 4 goals against the Saints the last time these two teams met in that 14-goal win by Carlton over St Kilda round 16 last year. Strikes that pretty well, and his name will go into the record books. 5 goals, the most ever kicked here, and he's still got some time left.
Well, the beauty today, boys, is they've been able to leave Henderson purely as a key forward. Now, Jamison got subbed in the third quarter, so what we should also talk about is the role that Rose played as a key defender today for Carlton. That's allowed Henderson to stay forward. He's kicked the 5 goals, been instrumental in Carlton going to win this game today. Really good win. Mick Malthouse equaling the record of the great Jock McHale today, and a really impressive second half performance by Carlton.
And he's up there as amongst their very best. There will be an Anzac Day medal presented at the conclusion of this game. So it'll be interested to see how the votes pan out, because Cripps was exceptional early, and here he is again getting another clearance. Simpson got it from Gibbs, gives it to Doherty, and they are full of run now, the Blues. Well, Henderson, a little stumble. Let's hope he's okay and it's only cramp. He's hobbling, Henderson. It does look like it's cramp on his face, at least.
There's a pretty hard deck out there too, Dwayne.
Tui. Big week for Mick Malthouse. He equalled the record, as you said, Brenton. 714 games. Coached Jock McHale's record today, and next week he will break it against Collingwood. That is a huge moment for Mick Malthouse in this club, and could they rise to the occasion for Mick? It's got some synchronicity to it, of course. Mick Malthouse being a premiership coach for Collingwood for the record-breaking game against them, and obviously some synchronicity today too, if you like. Mick Malthouse played 53 games for the Saints as part of his career as a successful AFL player. Well, maybe the Blues are a little more upside perhaps this year than some people think. Good attack from both players. Loney dives in, Bruce gets there. Walker, Rowe, stolen by Sard. Shenton, Armitage, Loney, didn't go himself, goes to Schneider. And he hands it back. Armitage gives them some hope with 7 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, good play by the Saints there. As we said earlier in the quarter, there comes a time, I think, when you just need to take the game on, look for overlap run, use the corridor, get it to your forwards one-on-one, turnover in the middle of the ground. And that's where the Saints have been at their best today, when they've created turnovers in their half. You can see here, smart play by Loney just to chip it over to Schneider.
Probably highlights one of the areas they've got to work on, and that is they're getting goals as a byproduct of their tackling, but they're not getting enough goals as a byproduct of their ball movement out of defence.
Really good point.
And it was significantly better against the Gold Coast, but the Gold Coast applied absolutely no pressure. So I think what they need to address, and they would know fully well, they said much better than us who see them irregularly, and that is they've just got to get their skills better and practice their ball movement with lots and lots of pressure.
Casbold can't get there, that's on the full. So just under 7 minutes remaining, and the margin 27 points. Blues came from 26 down to grab a 33-point lead. Can the Saints come from 33 down?
Wide.
You would need something
I'm not sure.
Outrageously unpredictable to happen to this game, but we did have an earthquake here yesterday.
Well, is it a tremor or a quake? Whatever it is, but it shook the foundations. Let's say that.
It shook your room. You were a little worried, weren't you?
Oh, it certainly was. I was looking to jump to the next building. I haven't got that in me.
Curnow to Cripps. Good attack. Shenton just got a handball away. Sinclair sees it roll out, and we're down to 6 minutes and 20.
I think you're going to talk about Savage's kick.
Yeah, I just think at this stage of the game, I'm not sure about going wide to a one-on-one at half-back right on the boundary.
Shenton. Geary.
Wow.
Murphy.
Had a good game, Murphy.
thought about it, but 30 seconds off the clock here, almost as valuable as a score, and he knows it.
Put himself on the line during the week, said he had the lift and he was in for the long haul, wanted to be the captain of the next premiership side at Carlton. Struggled early in the match and he lifted, and he's ended up being one of their best half-dozen players.
Spent the first, most of the first quarter on the wing, but for the remainder of the game, he's been mostly inside, and that's where he's done most of his damage today.
Opens up the angle and kicks into the man on the mark.
Been a bit of that happening today.
Sinclair, he runs it and then turns it back over again. Carrazzo feeds it out to Tui. Shrug off, handball, Walker, Murphy, Gibbs. Dance steps were good. Drives it long. Jones is down there. Casbolt's down there. Longer had a good piece of it.
And he's had a good game too, Longer. He's been the best, St Kilda's best three players. Really has worked hard. I like Sinclair off the half-back line. If they're looking for other avenues to run the ball out, he's pretty sharp in the forward half, and he can be a lockdown forward. He's also pretty creative, so not trying to limit him, but I think the Saints need to experiment with their group. Savage got locked down. Sinclair should be an immediate replacement for him.
Yeah, I agree. He does give you a little bit of run and punch. Definitely one for the future, Sinclair.
4.5 minutes left. Settle in for a feast of footy on Fox Footy if you're a Carlton fan, because here is the next four, and you'll see them all, of course, live on Fox Footy. Collingwood next week at the G.
Then Brisbane Lions at GWS, so the much talked about rebuilding, Dwayne, may pay dividends very quickly.
Yeah, well, boardrooms and back rooms and planning meetings can think what they think, perhaps, but Mick Malthouse just wants to win each game, and he's still coaching for this year. I mean, it's an old adage in footy, you make the finals, you never know what can happen, and that's exactly how the players have to play. If you're a player running out there thinking, well, we're not a chance to play finals for another couple of years left, it would be a hard way to play your footy.
I would have thought in some ways the rebuilding has already started. I mean, they traded for 2 first-round picks, and Jax is there, and we haven't seen too much of the other young kid that was going to play today, Wild.
Isn't the reality, though, Jared, isn't every club rebuilding? I mean, Geelong
yeah, but I
week...
think you can enhance your first-round picks. I think that's the only definition I can think that is going to change what Carlton have already done. If they actively trade out a Gibbs or a Henderson, but you're asking yourself, do you want to actually then go down to go back up?
Yes, the regenerate over rebuild. Do you want to reinvigorate, replenish? Yeah. Exactly.
Cats only 7 players from their 2011 premiership side playing this weekend.
Yeah. Carrazzo hands it off. Tui can have the last say. And he misses. And don't forget at the conclusion of this, the big one from the MCG, Collingwood and Essendon. An amazing day of football on Anzac Day today. This contest here, then Collingwood, Essendon from the MCG, full house. Then Port Adelaide and Hawthorn from the Adelaide Oval. That's a full house as well. And then the last might be the best. 2 undefeated teams on Fox Footy later on today. Fremantle and Sydney from Domain Stadium in Perth.
So they've given a good account of themselves, some of the youngsters, for the Blues. I think everyone will be pleased that Dylan Buckley's had such a good game. Haven't seen much of Wiley. Looking forward to seeing him when he finally gets his game.
Is Matthew Dick on screen?
Matthew Dick gets an opportunity, and I think Cripps has just been an outstanding player today.
I'd ask you who you thought the best player out there was, Jared, but I know you can't tell me. You voted for the medal?
I'm voting for the medal,
yeah.
so
fair enough that you keep that a secret for another 2.5 minutes. Who do you think was best, Brendan?
It's you can throw a blanket over players that had the biggest influence. I think you'd say Henderson, Cripps, Bell, maybe Murphy would be the fourth one I'd throw into that mix. Also like Buckley's game across half-back. He was there when the whips were cracking.
Yeah, well, all of Bell's goals, 4 goals, have come in the second half. As Jared said earlier, Henderson, 2 goals in the second. They were crucial in the comeback. Dempster And disappointment for Saints fans when you get 26 points up on an opponent that hasn't won a game yet for the season. You'd hope your team can go on with it from there.
Yeah, it's a big blow. They've played, I think, 3 good games or 2.5 good games. GWS in round 1 was a good game. They just didn't quite get there. Excellent game against Gold Coast. Ordinary last week after a good first quarter. And really disappointing today after a good first quarter again. And then to reassess and reassert themselves in the third quarter and push that lead back out. And then just let it unfold and evaporate into almost nothing. It's taking a little bit away from Carlton, but this is one that they were in a winning position twice.
Saints have Essendon next week, and then the Dogs, Adelaide and the West Coast. Little look away, handball works right on the left. Didn't get it right.
I still think the Saints, though, that they're playing the right brand of footy, if that makes sense. I still think there's something to work there with, and it is going to take time. You have to be patient if you're a supporter. But there's some fantastic young kids who are going to have a crack for you. But at the moment, they just can't sustain it for 120 minutes.
No, they move the ball well when they're fresh.
Yep.
And they're working as a unit. They defend well when they're fresh and working as a unit. So I think the foundations are there,
100%.
but it needs probably another 50 games on some super talents out there to, I guess, bear fruit.
Still plenty of positives today too for the Saints.
And they'll get, well, you would hope, Rewalt and Len Montagna back perhaps for next week's game against the Bombers. Wood. Helicopter. Knocked away from Fisher. Henderson flicks it out to Armfield.
Done a good job, Armfield. He won't be have his praises sung too much, but locking down on Savage has been excellent. Tui off half-back was pivotal as well in the second quarter.
There's a nice full stop on this first victory of the year for the Blues.
Really good passage of play. Personally, I love that. The turnover across the high half forward, but then some overlap run and punch out of defence. I've liked Buckley, Simpson, Tui. Today when they run in straight lines, coming off half-back, straight to the middle of the ground, attack the goal mouth, that's when, for me, I think Carlton looked their best.
Free player, and as you said, everyone running out of energy. It's a lot easier to run when you're 5 goals in front than it is when you know it's a hopeless task.
Having some fun now at the Blues.
From the ball up. Our team's hoping to not get any injuries in the scramble here in the dying seconds. Cripps was good.
How was that?
To Tui. It's only a 6th game for Patrick Cripps with some great signs, really, what we've seen today. Broke his leg last year, only managed 3 games. He's signed long-term for the end of 2017.
Selected for the NAB Rising Star is here today too, Kevin Sheen.
Okay.
Would be impressed with that game, I think, by Cripps.
Well, it's going to be tough at the top this year for the NAB Rising Star because there's another bloke who hasn't played many. Jesse Hogan was fairly impressive last night.
Good point.
And Isaac Henney for one of the best teams in the competition. It just keeps getting better every week. Armfield on the outside of the boot. A little bit of party time for the Blues.
Disappointing because now it becomes 40 points for St Kilda.
It's a blowout, isn't it?
It is, and that's what I think Richo and his coaching staff would be disappointed about because they've thrown everything they could at the Blues today. They got out to 26 points in front at one point in this game. To lose this game by 40 points is disappointing for that spirit and culture that I talked about earlier.
Cripps just keeps on keeping on. Even in this last quarter, his return has been superb.
One last ball up. Been a lot of talk about respect for Mick Malthouse this week. Well, his players have shown him that today. They've come from 26 down to win by 40. 66-point turnaround, and the Blues get their first victory of 2015.
There's supporters around this land and also back at home will be absolutely thrilled with what they're seeing. And I don't think it's just the 4 points, although that's always helps, but the fact that a number of young blokes put their hand up today and showed that whatever rebuilding process is about to take place, it's already begun and it's showing on the ground.
And Lockie Henderson, one of the stars of the show, he's got the record here at Westpac Stadium for the most goals in a game. He kicked 5, he's with Barry Hall.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Well, what a fantastic